Welcome back. In this video we'll break down the inversion fair value gap Pro Plus indicator. This tool automates inversion logic, mapping when liquidity pools are rated, fair value gaps get closed through, and converts into an inversion gap. Instead of drawing zones or predicting direction, it gives you a clean visual reference to study price delivery after liquidity sweeps. Let's dive deeper into the concept before going into the indicator settings. This model is built around three main components: liquidity rates, displacement, and inversions. First off, we have a liquidity rate, and that's when price sweeps a prior swing high or low. Without this step, no IFVG can qualify. So in this case, you can see how the market sweeps a previous swing low. Then we have displacement, which is a strong move that creates an imbalance, so it leaves behind the fair value gap. And then we have an inversion, so if price fully closes through the gap after a raid, the imbalance flips, and for example, if we have a bearish FVG that's closed through above after raiding a swing low, it can act as a bullish inversion. Once the inversion is confirmed, the tool plots the IFVG line upon the confirmation. And this is not a prediction or a support level, but a reference for when the inversion logic is active and a potential shift in order flow might be coming. At the same time, the opposing swing is mechanically marked as the structural target, like you can see here. Models remain valid until either the opposing swing is reached or the setup becomes invalidated by structure, and this creates a framework for tracking real-time delivery based on price action. General settings. The general settings control how IFVGs are detected and confirmed. The IFVG timeframe option determines which timeframe the FVGs and its setups are derived from. So in this case, it's put to chart, so it will use only setups from the chart we are looking at right now. In this case, we're looking at a 1 minute time frame, so it will look at 1 minute time frame models. If you would change this to a 5 minute, it will only show us 5 minute chart setups. So in this case, you can see a 5 minute on the right here, and it plots a 5 minute inversion gap, and that same inversion gap and same confirmation will be plotted onto the chart. The IFVG confirmation, however, defines which candle close validates an inversion, and the model only becomes active after this inputted timeframe closes. We can use the same as the IFVG timeframe as above, or we can input a custom one. The history setting allows you to change the amount of setups that are displayed on the chart. In this case, we're looking at 8 historical setups on the chart, and if we change this to, let's say, 1, it will only display 1 setup onto the chart. If we change this to 0, only the active models that are being plotted right now will remain on the chart. And as there's no model active right now, there will be no model shown. There's also a built-in bias filter. And with this filter, you can filter on bullish setups, bearish setups, or neutral. Using the neutral setting will show both bullish and bearish setups when detected. Let's say we are bullish for the day, so we select a bullish bias. The indicator will now only show bullish setups inside the price lag. As you can see, all bearish setups that are usually there have been ignored on the left side where we have entered the bullish bias. The indicator has 2 built-in types of FVGs that you can look at. The first one being a single and the second one being a series. When we have single selected, it will use a single imbalance, as you can see here, it's 1 imbalance. And when we have selected the series, it will look at all the imbalances in the price lag and count them as one big cumulative inversion gap that needs to be closed through before it validates the model. So in this case, you can see if we have 1, 2 imbalances, it will add those together, and then once we close above this one, it will start the model. Then we have the invalidation condition, and traders can choose the invalidation model logic to be either the close or on the swing. Right now it's put on the swing, as you can see right here. And swing will invalidate the IFVG once the most recent swing prior to the qualified inversion is traded through. In this case, it will be this swing high right here. So as long as the model stays below the swing high, it will still remain active. If we put this on close, you can see that the model already closed through the inversion gap. It will count as a invalidated model. As you can see right here, it turned gray. Then we have the option to remove invalidated models, and it automatically hides failed setups for A, cleaner chart, and B, for backtesting. So this way you can see setups that have materialized. Leaving this off will showcase the invalidated models in gray, as you can see right here. But this is especially helpful for backtesting, so people are able to find the setups that have panned out and create historical backtesting to find out what a good setup looks like. Liquidity settings. The liquidity settings have been expanded to give much more control over how liquidity pools are defined and displayed. Liquidity pools and opposing pools have always been a part of the IFVG model, but now traders are given even more customization. So here's what's new. You can now basically choose the liquidity time frame, and you can choose between a chart, automatic, custom, or session. This means you can anchor liquidity sweeps to your preferred structural time frame or even to kill zones. For example, if we choose chart, in this case we're on a 1 hour chart, it will use 1 hour liquidity pools, as you can see. If we choose automatic, it will use the automatic time frame pairings, like you can see on the tooltip, so 1 minute to 5 minute, 5 minutes and 15 minutes, 15 minutes and 1 hour, and so on. Custom allows you to select a time frame of your own choice, so if we go to custom, you can click a 4 hour time frame and it will only use 4 hour liquidity pools instead. And then we have session, and if we click on session, it will disregard the 4 hours and basically only use the session liquidity from within the kill zone. So this is maybe more for an intraday approach, for example. Then we have added show liquidity time frame label. So if we click this, it will tell you on the liquidity pool where it's derived from. So in this case, a 1 hour. And then we have made it possible to add additional liquidity pools. So in this case, you can see the additional liquidity count. I've put it to 5, and if we enable it, you can see that 5 extra liquidity pools from the 1 hour chart will appear on the chart. And we have the minimum liquidity distance. And with the minimum liquidity distance, we can put in a specific amount of pips, points, or ticks that need to be between the trigger of the model and the nearest liquidity pool. In this case, we have an active model right here, and in between this model and this liquidity pool right here is 21 pips. If we would have a minimum distance of, let's say, 25, and we add it to pips and we add it to the chart, you will see that it won't reference this liquidity pool but the nearest one after it, in this case 25 points, and this is this one right here. If we put it to, let's say, 40 pips, it will reference this liquidity pool down here, and every other additional liquidity pool will also be plotted afterwards. And just an analyst insight, low resistance liquidity runs often occur when there are stacked liquidity pools in like a cluster with little distance between them. This means that the swings have not been neutralized and they have been engineered to create a larger displacement once broken, clearing all the liquidity stacked. Model filters. Model filters refine which IFVGs are valid. For example, we can use the IFVG threshold, and with that feature we can filter IFVGs by size, choosing all, small, medium, large, or the newest feature, custom minimums. So for example, now the setting is put to all, and we can see that a lot of setups have formed during the London session on NQ. And this is because the London session is not very volatile, so a lot of small gaps appear on the chart. So if we now filter it to small, medium, and large, the tiniest gap will get filtered out, and you can see that it cleans up the chart a lot. And then we have the newest feature, the minimum custom IFVG size. So if we put it to custom, we can see that now only IFVGs with a size of a minimum of 10 points will activate. If you put it to 5, it will be a minimum of 5. And if you put it to 2, it will be a minimum of 2 points. And you can see that all these fair value gaps have now a minimum of 2 points. Then we have the opposing swing filter. And this setting decides which IFVGs to qualify. No opposing sweep, which we have on the left side, ensures there is no liquidity taken during the time of an IFVG confirmation. And then momentum, which is on the right chart, allows momentum-driven setups, showcasing setups that take liquidity upon confirming the IFVG. So for example, we can see here that sell-side liquidity is taken, a fair value gap is formed, and then the market turns around, and this candle here confirms the IFVG, but at the same time it takes liquidity from a swing point above. So it's disqualified on no opposing sweep, because on this chart we don't want any opposing liquidity to be taken right here. And with momentum driven setups we specifically want to look at this, so there the setup is plotted. So these filters give you control over whether you want clearer structural models or more aggressive momentum based setups. The higher time frame FVG filter. This higher time frame FVG filter ensures setups only trigger inside higher time frame imbalances. You can, for example, pick a time frame such as the 4 hours, so the model only activates after those FVGs are traded to. And if we add it and we click on automatic, it will automatically pair it with the same time frame pairings as from the other one. And as you can see, now setups will only appear when traded inside a higher time frame FVG. Then we can adjust the filter color, so we can make it green, we make it pink for example, and then we'll change the colors. And if we click on Show FVG CE, it will plot the 50% midpoint of those higher time frame gaps, and these are often used for discretionary logic to gauge relative strength of the rebalancing, for example. This adds structure and confluence by anchoring inversions inside meaningful imbalances. Styling and visuals. You can fully customize how the active, invalid, and delayed models appear visually with these buttons right here for the bullish style and for the bearish style. And you can also adjust the model line style and the transparency of the models onto the chart with this input right here. With the IFVG extension type, you can choose to extend the IFVGs through model completion, or select the static option to simply display the IFVG as a clean imbalance. Extending the IFVGs can be especially useful when price retraces into the imbalance before reaching its target. And the expansion option will stop extending not only when the model has reached its target, but also when it is invalidated. That's a very important detail. In this case, if we change to default, you'll be able to see that the inverse fair value gap is only displayed right here. And if we put it on extension, it will extend all the way until it's completed. Now, there's a new setting, which is called the potential IFVG, and this is a new setting that allows traders to show unconfirmed inversions, along with their midpoint and CE. This is useful for monitoring order flow in real time and for those to be prepared for model detections once confirmed. So, for example, if we switch back all the way until here, where the fair value gap right there has not been closed through, you can see it's now in a gray state. And then once price actually closes through, it will print the IFVG label. With these options, you can decide how much detail you want to track, from keeping charts simple with only confirmed models to showing every potential inversion, midpoint, and opposing target for full context. Session filter. The session filter limits model activations to your preferred trading hours or kill zones. You can define up to 4 custom sessions to filter setups, such as, for example, the London Open, New York AM or New York PM, or other ones that you might want to use. So, for example, if we only want to see setups in the New York session between 8 AM and 11 AM, you can enable filter 2, which can also be customized, and you see that after 11 AM, setups will get filtered out and won't be shown on the chart. By toggling the liquidity button, this setting allows you to use specific session highs and lows for its liquidity rate condition. By enabling the macros only button, it will restrict the model triggers to occur only in the first and last 10 minutes of each hour. So if we enable it, you can see that all other setups that fall outside of this time window will get filtered out, and only setups within the first and last 10 minutes of each hour will be displayed. Now, this all aligns IFVG logic with both time of day strategies and liquidity anchored in session ranges. Info table. The info table displays key data on the screen, and you can toggle a lot of options inside the info table, such as the IFVG timeframe, the IFVG threshold, the liquidity timeframe, the FVG filter timeframe, the bias, the time filter, and the ticker and the date of the asset. So in this case, if we, let's say, we change the bias from neutral to bearish or bullish, it will show up as bullish in the info table. If we change the liquidity timeframe from chart to session, for example, it will change towards the sessions that are used for liquidity. It's also possible to change where the info table is situated. In this case, I've made it huge, and let's turn it all the way back to small and put it into the bottom right. And as you can see, the data table will then display itself in the bottom right. It's also possible to disable the hide border button, and that way it will have a nice border around it. This gives a quick reference to the settings that are utilized in the model without having to check the indicator settings manually. And that's the Inversion Fair Value Gap Pro Plus indicator. By automating inversion logic with liquidity sweeps, fair value gap closures, and structural targets, it provides a consistent framework for studying order flow shifts within price delivery. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown. If you want to learn more, make sure to join the Escape Discord down below.